So time to see how all of this looks in the dark. Two of my favorite touches in here. First, we've got the brightness controls integrated right here on the instrument cluster cowl, and they're illuminated for easy reference. And if I pull the camera back, you can see that's just right there to the right and slightly behind the steering wheel. And second, if you want to turn the screen off and the infotainment system off and just go completely focused, it's just as simple as pressing down and holding on this. And off it goes. This is the Mazda CX-50 Meridian Turbo, and this is how its LED headlights look lighting up the dark and lonely highways of Northern Ontario, my headlight testing ground, and an ideal place to show you what you can expect from this lighting system without much distraction from traffic and other light sources. You don't normally get to check out the after-dark driving experience of your new vehicle until after you've bought it and taken it home. And so if you're a Mazda CX-50 shopper, this video will give you a great idea of what to expect. I've got loads of footage of this lighting system coming up for you, and we'll also compare the lights on this CX-50 to another favorite of mine, the new Honda CR-V, a little later in this video. But first, let's check out a few other important elements of the Mazda CX-50's Night Drive experience. The cargo area and its rubberized surfaces are handy and durable, and with those small but powerful cargo area lights, and the brightly glowing LED rings in the tail lamps, the CX-50 does a nice job of lighting up the area behind it in the dark when everything is opened up, making for a safer and more secure feel, and an easier time finding what you're looking for. So a little look at the lighting in the cargo area for you. There's one LED light right up there, and another one down there over on the left. And so if you're using this area as a bit of a workstation in the dark, I think you should find that to be plenty of light to see what you're doing. The interior makes a nice first impression in the dark too. There's a high contrast palette with plenty of sharp white light on the needles, and text that's easy to read with sharply illuminated graphics. The instrument cluster is partially analog with sharp needles and easy to read text, and the central screen in the cluster is also easy to read and fairly minimal, not a significant source of light pollution in the dark. In all, the fine graphics and text and the sharp, precise lighting of controls and buttons makes it easy to find what you need in the dark while giving the cabin a precise and finished look, with high-end looking backlighting on the dash, doors, and center console virtually surrounding front seat occupants with light. I can't stress enough how sharp and crisp the text and instrumentation look throughout the cabin. The Android Auto interface works well in the dark with automatic night mode dialing back the brightness to help keep from irritating your eyes. There's little need to use the dimmer on it, but if you like, you can back out to the factory home screen interface, which is even more minimal and offers even less light pollution. And for full focus mode, just long press the volume dial to power down the stereo and central screen. Thing is, if you want to keep the tunes playing but turn the central screen off, it is a little more complicated than it needs to be. And so up here, we're going to have to go back out to the home menu, to the Mazda interface here, go into settings, in-vehicle displays, center display, and then display off. And so now we can still play our music if we like. That gives us just our instrument cluster, basic lighting, and none of that light pollution coming from that central screen, which makes it a little easier to stay focused on the road. So here is some more detail on the CX-50's lighting system in action. We've got the adaptive LED headlights with auto leveling and automatic high beams, which I'm using in just about all of this footage. You'll notice the head-up display in a few of these shots too. It projects vital running data into the driver's field of view so that it appears to float just above the front edge of the hood like a little hologram. You can change the brightness and position of the head-up display, or turn it off if you don't like it, though I do find it's a nice touch to help keep me informed while keeping my eyes on the road. In this footage of the around town driving, notice that even with street lamps and light from other traffic, I've got strong engagement of reflective surfaces far up both sides of the road. Even with the low beams engaged, I'm not dazzling other drivers, but I do have plenty of light coming back to me from those signs and reflectors. Same thing in the highway footage here on the undivided 5-lane between Sudbury and Chelmsford. For this footage, I've chosen a lens with a fast aperture and field of view that matches that of the human eye, so this particular footage is probably the best representation of the lighting system's performance I can give you. Still, as you're watching this stretch of highway, note that the pavement is not black, but rather a dirty and light gray-brown color, which does make the light look a little more powerful in this setting. Still, across more than 4 lanes of traffic and into nearby culverts and backyards, you've got plenty of powerful light where you need it. Watch closely in the roundabouts in this hyperlapse footage. We'll play it a few times so you can see. The adaptive lights are somewhat subtle in action, but you can see those beams bending in this situation, keeping more of that powerful light exactly where your eyes are looking for it. Here's some footage of the new Honda CR-V Hybrid to compare, in case you happen to be cross-shopping, and if that's the case, I've got full road test report videos on both machines, with links down in the description if you're watching on YouTube. Personally, I prefer the more minimal use of digital screens in the Mazda, and find the CR-V has just a touch more light pollution ahead of me, though I do appreciate the clean and relatively sharp graphics. And it's worth mentioning that the Honda's infotainment system is easier to use in the dark too, since it's just a straight-up touchscreen, unlike the Mazda where you use this central controller down on the console. And if you're finding this an informative and helpful look at what you can expect from your new CX-50 when driving in the dark, then please leave me a like if you're watching on YouTube, and consider subscribing to my channel so you don't miss any future uploads. Watch closely up the road here and you'll notice the operation of the auto high beams, which I found to be on the ball. Specifically, I found their programming to be polite to other motorists. I almost never had to manually take control, and I love when the auto high beams turn up and down at about the same distance from other traffic as I'd be doing myself manually, which is exactly what's happening here, and partly why I don't recall being flashed by oncoming traffic on this test drive at all. Really, it's set it and forget it operation in the dark. The Mazda CX-50 is a top safety pick in 2024, and that requires it to have headlights rated by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, or IIHS, with either a score of acceptable or the top score of good on all trim grades. And with the lighting system in this top-line tester, we have that top rating of good. It's a lighting system I think new owners will really be able to take confidence in. And I'd say the exact same thing about the lighting system in the new Honda CR-V Hybrid. There are some subtle differences between the two, and the Mazda has adaptive beams that can turn into corners while the Honda CR-Vs are fixed. I wouldn't say one of these lighting systems is better than the other, though I'd happily tell you that they're two of my favorites, based on the past several 100,000 kilometers of testing in the dark. Car makers are increasingly putting better and better lighting systems into vehicles at lower and lower price points, prompted in part by industry safety authorities now testing headlight performance to earn their top scores, and both of these machines deliver lighting system performance that I would normally expect in a six-figure luxury SUV not all that long ago. Lighting performance in mainstream vehicles has never been this good.